Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're looking at a mobile phone. Now, I've recently looked at several mobile phones, predominantly iPhones, the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the iPhone 13 Pro, of which we have here. This is the iPhone 13 Pro. I've been very happy with the photographs I've got off my iPhone 13 Pro. And it's my daily driver. That's what they say in this tech world, isn't it? Daily driver. It's a phone that I use all the time as my, day-to-day phone. But I recently purchased the Google Pixel 6, and oops, yeah, that's one of them. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah, the Google Pixel 6, and here it is. Fantastic phone, actually. Android, very different operating system to the well-established iPhone operating system. Obviously, Android's well-established. We're up to Android 12 now, and there's some great features in Android, which I love, over and above the features in iPhone. They both get the job done, they do it slightly different ways. But what I really want to talk about really is the photography aspect of using a mobile phone. Now, those of you that know me know that I've never been impressed with images that come off a mobile phone. In fact, it's only the last, I would say, 6 months to a year that I've been happy to use a mobile phone as my daily snapper, as it were. And I've always used, a little compact camera, something like the Sony RX100 range or the Fujifilm X70. I did have a Ricoh GR2. Those were the sort of compact cameras I kept in my pocket, and I used on a regular basis if we went out and about, and I just wanted to get some really nice quality snaps, as it were. Sort of snaps I would be proud to be able to put on, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be, and print. But now, mobile phones have really come up in leaps and bounds in image quality to be able to use them for, real purposes. And this is what I want to talk about today. It's not a full in-depth review of the Google Pixel 6. It really isn't. It's more of an introduction, what I think of a Pixel 6, and would I like to use it, and would I be using it as a a stills camera? And the answer to that is yes, I will. It's very similar to the iPhone 13 Pro. Image quality I think is very similar, but they both have different features that I'm going to be playing with. So I'm not going to go into the feature set here, because they both got portrait mode. They both got the computational modes that have really made mobile phones stand out from the crowd. And I think this is why a lot of people now, or vast majority of people, are using mobile phones as opposed to, the sort of cameras I use in the studio here for filming these reviews. It's got a really nice OLED display. I really like the display. Apparently the display isn't, the best, but I like it. It's sharp enough for me. It's a bright display. You can see here it works really well. But the camera, it's got a 50 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel front facing camera, selfie camera effectively, on the front here, and a 12 megapixel wide camera. So it's the main camera that fascinates me, but it's 50 megapixel. Now, when I transfer these images to my computer, they don't appear to be 50 megapixels because they're around, the file sizes are anything between like 10 and 15 megabytes, where the files that come off the iPhone are around 15 to 30 megabytes. So although the sensor's much smaller on the iPhone, the file sizes are bigger. And that doesn't quite correlate with me. So I don't know if a Pixel 6 is using the full sensor size, the full 50 megapixel sensor size, or whether there's some form of computational work going on behind the scenes in the phone that's downsizing the file sizes. But the images are great, and the images are really good. So there's some sort of calculation there that doesn't quite add up. But at the end of the day, it's the image size which is really good, and because they're smaller file sizes, they're easier to work with on the computer. So, swings and roundabouts, I guess. You don't get problems on the computer if you've got a computer that isn't, as powerful as maybe people that, are using them professionally. But But there we go. So that is, you know, basically the camera. Now, it's got, you know, the camera has, you know, many other features. You've got portrait mode here. You've got motion. I haven't played with motion as yet, you know, but that again is something that is very different to what the iPhone can do. It simulates a fast moving subject, so you don't need to have a subject moving faster too at all. It's clever. It's all computational work, night shots, so that's great in low light for low light photography, obviously video, and there's various other modes of which I'm going to be playing with, you know, in the future. And on the quick subject of video though, I have noticed in the stock app, you know, the actual main app that it comes with, I've tried and I've searched and searched and I can't seem to do it. I've tried setting this. If you look on there, it shows it as 30 frames a second. Now I've tried setting this to 25 frames a second, do 30 or 60, that's fair enough. But I've tried setting it to 25 and I can't find anywhere where I can actually set it to 25. And that's really frustrating because I'm in the UK and I'd rather have it at 25 frames a second than 30 frames a second, because I will be dropping video clips taken with me Google Pixel 6 into a timeline that's set at 25 frames a second. So it seems illogical that Google haven't put a setting there to be able to change it to 25, unless I'm missing something, which I will discuss that in a minute. That's really annoying me. But I haven't found a setting yet where I can actually change it to 25p. Now, I'm hoping that somebody in my audience will be able to point that out to me and either say, yes, this is how you do it, blah, de, blah, de, blah, or B, no, you can't. Google haven't enabled that feature. So that is a little bit annoying. I know you can get third-party apps that will set it to 25p. I've actually got a couple of third-party apps on here that have, you know, set the frame rate to 25p. But on the Google standard app, you've only got 30 or 60. I wish there was a setting for 25 and 50, but there isn't. Obviously, it does 4K. The selfie camera is only HD. So the selfie camera of the Google Pixel 6 is only HD. You'd have to upgrade to the Google Pixel 6 Pro to get a 4K selfie camera. This one's only HD. Well, that's, you know, fine and dandy. That doesn't bother me. I haven't done any video with the cameras yet, so I will do that, and I will, you know, let you guys and girls know what I think of the video quality. That'll be a separate video to this one. This is, as I said earlier, this is very much an introduction to what I think of this phone. So yeah, the usability, the handling, I really do like, but I have come across one issue that I really don't like, and it's quite different to my iPhone 13 Pro. Now, with my iPhone 13 Pro, this is it handles really well, you know, and it's not slippery. This does not slip out of my hand because it seems to have a thicker bezel around the edges. It's a really, you know, it's a really premium feel and a premium construction. Not that I'm saying the Google Pixel 6 isn't a premium feel, but I tell you what, be warned of this. I'm sure I'm not the only person who has said this, but be warned of this. It is slippery, flipping heck. That slides out your hand, you know. I mean, I'm doing that deliberately, I know now, but I'm exaggerating what it's like. But yeah, that is slippery as hell. So either put it in the case, and I do normally keep it in a case, because you're going to drop it. You're absolutely 100% going to drop that if it's not in a case. It is, you know, and even if you're using it as a phone, that's not, yeah, it's not ideal. So I would definitely, you know, be wary of that. But other than that, you know, it's a great product. Feels nice. The size is nice. The actual with photographs, it shoots DNG raw files as well as JPEG files. Now there was another thing that I noticed when I first downloaded the raw files, the DNG files. With the iPhone, the DNG files look very similar to the JPEG files. They don't look, heavily processed, but they do look very similar. You just have to take the sharpness down on the iPhone files. They're over sharpened. I find with the Google Pixel 6, the DNG files are incredibly flat. They're very flat compared to the RAW files. The RAW files are fantastic that come off the Google Pixel 6. They're sharp, the colours are vibrant, and they look great on the screen. They really do look really good on the screen. So just note that when the RAW files come off the Google Pixel 6, if you do want to shoot RAW, which I highly recommend, I've got it set to RAW plus JPEG, so I'm getting the best of both worlds. But if you do want to shoot RAW, just be wary that they are very, very flat files. I'm going to go through just a couple of demo shots that I've taken. I will put them up on my Flickr page. There'll be a link to my Flickr page in the description below. And take a look at my Flickr page. You can see them much clearer there than you can on this YouTube video. So it's worth taking a look at them. I will be adding to them as well. There isn't many. And the reason why there isn't many is because we've had stormy weather. It's been awful outdoors. So I haven't wanted to venture out to take many photographs. I will be taking some nighttime photographs as well, and I will be adding them to my Flickr page. So it's worth bookmarking my Flickr page for that specific reason. So, what we'll do is quickly go through some of these RAW files. And I use a program called Luminar 4. There's now Luminar Neo, which I use as well. I find they're great pieces of editing software, and it's very quick and easy to put some punch back into your images, particularly if you're not an experienced photo editor. I don't class myself as a high-end experienced photo editor using Photoshop or Lightroom. I actually did put these files in Lightroom, and I couldn't get the sort of images out of Lightroom that I'm getting out of Luminar. So, if I'm using the Google Pixel 6 for my photographs, I'll 100% be using Luminar or Neo for me editing for that particular reason. But yeah, it's very swift. The display, as I said before, the display is really good, and it scrolls nicely. It's got a 90 Hertz refresh rate as opposed to 120. For me, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. It seems to work absolutely fine. And the one thing I do like about Android, which is very difficult to do on an iPhone, is you can increase the text size of the each app. So that's great because I've got quite poor eyesight, and when I scroll through this, I can actually set a higher text value for each app. So if we look at that, I can scroll through that, and the text size you can see is much bigger, but I'm not going to go into detail on that, so you don't want to look at my Facebook feed. And same with Twitter. I can set a higher text size than what I could on my iPhone. And when you've got poor eyesight, that is fantastic to be able to see that nice and clearly because it's nice and large, and it scrolls through really fast. It's really good. So as a phone and sort of media content viewer, whatever you want to call it, I think it's great. It's a great little great device. And you can see there I've got the text size really large there on Google's feed, and it's excellent, and really like that. But as I say, the camera is particularly what I'm interested in, and I do find that the third-party apps work really well with the with the Google Pixel 6 as well, so I don't have an issue with that. But let's now quickly go through these photographs as I'm using Luminar. Now, I would say, if you, I will put a link in my descriptions where you can download a trial version of either Luminar 4 Neo or Luminar AI. It's well worth downloading the trial version, have a play with it. And if you do decide you want to purchase it, and it is great value for money, if you do decide you want to purchase it, use the code AVP to get $10 off your purchase price. That helps me. I earn a few pennies from that, and you're getting a great deal on a great bit of software. And there's no subscription. Once you've bought it, you own it. So well worth doing that. And as I say, if you are using a mobile phone for creating your images, I think this is a really, really useful bit of software if you're using a mobile phone particularly. So now let's take a look at some of these images so you guys and gals can, you know, get a look. Now these images these are just a few that I've saved. Simply because I mean, there's more. I've taken more than this, so there's just a few that I've bookmarked because you know, the weather's been so lousy. Now that looks really quite punchy, doesn't it? I balled up the shadows, but if we look at the before and after, you can see coming out the camera is flat. Look at the sky, really flat. But I've been able to create within minutes, well, not even minutes, within a few seconds, a nice punchy image there, and it looks really nice. It's not a fantastic image per se, but what you can do to it is, you know, is really, really good. You know, same with that. That I've put a bit more punch on that. Sharpness is really good. So, you know, you're going to get a nice sharp lens. It's worth taking the sharpness down a little bit. Again, I do find on mobile phones, you do need to reduce the sharpness just, you know, just a little bit, because they do come out of the phone just a little bit over sharpened. But again, if we look at before and after, now that was nothing. And look at the sky. So the great thing with Luminar 4 or Luminar AI or Neo, it's very easy to replace the sky. You can see what came out of camera here, flat as anything. It's underexposed and a lousy sky. And you can see there, I've actually changed the sky, which is great. And it's so easy to do and quick and easy to do in Luminar or any of the Luminars. So you just go into this second one down, this create, it says create, well, creative. Go into sky replacement. I mean, it will slightly vary depending on what version you have, but you go into that and you choose what sky you want. I've chosen dramatic sunset 4. Let's go to 3. That'd be slightly different, and you have a slightly different look again. And I think that just looks really good, and that helps really, you know, enhance a really flat image. And I really like that. You can play with lots and lots of different skies. So that's, you know, one of the reasons I do like this software. Again, I could change that sky, but you know, I've just given it a little bit of punch, because I say the images are really flat. Now this isn't, for me, this is one of the most interesting ones. That was awful when it came out of camera, and I've rescued that image. If you look at how it came out of camera, that is so overexposed. You can't even see any detail in the building whatsoever. But I've managed to rescue that. Not that I suggest you take photographs that overexposed. I would suggest that you don't. But if that happens and you really want that photograph, look at that. And that's without changing the sky. I've used sky enhancement. I've used artificial intelligence to do that using Luminar 4. So that's the sort of thing you can do. That's after a bit of editing, and it literally took a few minutes. And that's before, after, and before. Turned a lousy image into a potentially a usable image. So there we go. A really useful bit of software for editing images that come off the Google Pixel 6 or any actual mobile phone, because it handles the DNG files fine. The DNG RAW files that come off the Google Pixel 6 are a standard DNG file that can be opened in pretty much any photo editing software. So, you know, very, very useful bit of software. I highly recommend it. The other thing I really like, it's got the Google Pixel, Google Photos app, which is really good. It's a really nice little app, works really well. But I have noticed this must be based up in the cloud. I'm not quite sure how Google Photos work, but it automatically appears on my not my iPad. It probably would actually if I use Google Photos, but it appears on my Android tablet, and it appears on my phone pretty much instantly. So I really like that aspect, that it is storing the images as well as on the phone. It's automatically sending them up to the cloud as a backup. So I find that really, really helpful. Now, obviously I know with the iPhone that has the iCloud, so you can actually store your images up in the iCloud. But I found that I found that quite annoying, and I'm not going to go into details why I find that annoying, but I've got that feature turned off for a number of reasons. I might talk about that in another video, but I find it works automatically on the Google phone, and it seems to work seamlessly and seems to work really, really well. So that's another positive for the Google Pixel 6. And as I say, in the image quality, even though the file sizes seem small for DNG files for a 50 megapixel camera, they seem to work really, really well. So there we go. That's my introduction into the Google Pixel 6, well, particularly the camera, and to some extent the phone. I will be doing a more in-depth look at the camera, and I will be comparing it with the iPhone 13 Pro. This is, because I love my iPhone 13 Pro. As I said, I use it as my standard phone. So I think the image quality that come off these, these lenses on the back, or these cameras on the back, are fantastic. The actual design of the iPhone, it's so slippery. The actual design of the Google Pixel 6 is quite different to the 13 Pro. The lens, the camera module is across the top, where there's a little box area, sort of, it's quite a different design. And obviously the size of the phone itself, the Google Pixel 6, is just that little bit bigger than, a little bit taller than the 13 Pro. I mean, width wise, screen size, yeah, much of a muchness really. They're both, yeah, actually no, the Google Pixel 6 is just that little bit wider than the 13 Pro. So all in all, it's a bigger screen. It's a 6.4 inch screen on the Google Pixel 6. So that's really nice, and it's running its own processor, Tensor processor, with 8 gig of RAM. So there's plenty of RAM in here to run this. I guess that's great for multitasking. Nicely made, good quality build to it, and yeah, really, really good. So there we go. Hope you found that useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button if you like the contents of this video. Really, really appreciate that. Helps me grow the channel. Any suggestions or comments you might have in using the Google Pixel 6, that would be really, really helpful, because I'm fairly new to Android. I have used Android. I predominantly have used iPhone, but any suggestions would be really, really helpful and most appreciated. So thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for other videos relating to video and photography, a bit of audio and podcasting. So thanks very much, and see you on the next one. Cheers for now. Bye.